Is it special summon? When it has material, level 5 or higher monsters cannot be special summoned. Okay.
I already have a recording, so pretty much just I'm about to get it starting, and then of course I'll cut that part out. All right. Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with
DarkArmedDuelist.
And show us what you are going to be showing us today.
So I'm going to be profiling my Evilswarm. This is a deck I've been playing a very long time, and it's a deck I've been playing around a lot with recently, especially with Tier Limit running around, because Ophion is hilarious for any fusion deck because it stops both players from special summoning level 5 or higher monsters, which is just awesome in this deck. And I even have some really good tech cards in this build for you guys. So
that's insane. Let's go ahead and jump on into it.
Okay, so first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Evilswarm Kirkion. Kirkion is a great 3-of in the deck because this card gives you an additional normal summon. It's really good later in the game because you don't want to give this your first normal summon because you do have to have basically an Evilswarm in the graveyard to use its effect. Because what it does is it banishes from the grave an Evilswarm monster and then lets you add one back from graveyard to hand, and then it grants you an additional normal summon, making it super easy to recycle your resources and get rid of cards you don't need in the graveyard anymore, so you can start making your rank 4 plays like your copies of Ophion so that you can lock down the field, which is really nice. The next 3 we're going to be playing is 3 copies of Caster. This card is super simple. Gives you an additional normal summon. That's all this does. It's really easy and it's super good in the deck. Really effective just to get you 2 level 4s on the field so that you can start making your plays to go into Ophion. I then play 2 copies of Mandragora. Mandragora is a really good 2-of. I don't feel like you need 3 copies of this right now because of the tech cards I'm playing. You can play 3, but I feel like 2s work too well for me. That if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. So I only play 2 copies of this card because this deck is really a going first deck, so you can lock down your opponent. So usually this ends up being a normal summon off the copy of Caster, which is why I just play it as a 2-of. I then play 3 copies of Heliotrope. Heliotrope is the vanilla of the deck. We have cards like Unexpected Die in this build to be able to special summon this card to your side of the field. Fun fact, the entire text of this card is backwards, which is kind of neat. Yeah,
really?
The flavor text is completely backwards. If you flip it and look at it, if you're can read it backwards, if you can read backwards, you can actually understand it, but it's totally backwards.
I'm definitely gonna have to read that later then.
Yeah, that's really cool. Just fun fact about Evilswarm, as somebody who's been playing this deck for a very long time, it's one of the only cards that's like that, but the entire flavor text is backwards. But you can special summon this off Rescue Rabbit if you play it in your build. I'm not playing Rescue Rabbit right now because there's too many Ash Blossoms running around and not enough ways to stop it in this build. So I ended up just playing 3 copies of this card. I don't mind opening up with one of these on a Caster. Unexpected Die is a really good card to be able to bait Ash Blossom and to be able to just special summon this out to your side of the field, but it's a really, really good 3-of, especially with being 1950 on a normal summon.
For sure.
Yeah, you can get over a lot of cards with this card, which is really nice. I then play just a single copy of Thunderbird, aka the Runaway card. When anything's activated, you can banish this card, and then it'll come back later with 300 extra attack points, which is kind of nice because if you banish it off the field and it comes back and you don't have an additional normal summon, you can just get rid of it if you know you're not going to get OTK'd, and then it'll come back on the later turn. And when it does come back, you'll already have another level 4 on the field that you can, go into your copy of Ophion. Then we play 3 copies of Ash Blossom because it's still, in my opinion, one of the best hand traps in the entire game. This card is just really good overall at stopping the opponent from touching the deck, and it's just a really good card overall. Since we super don't care about the graveyard outside of Kirkion, I'm playing 3 copies of D-Shifter. D-Shifter just hurts the opponent a lot more than it hurts us in this deck. And if you open this and throw it against the opponent, you're already not going to have an Evilswarm in graveyard, so you can just make Ophion off a copy of Caster at any level 4.
Yeah.
So you can throw this first and stop the opponent. This card is just ridiculous and wins games because you throw this first and then you set up Ophion and your opponent's going to have a real bad time.
Yeah.
And it's one of the best cards in the entire game. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're just playing a couple of spells in here. We're going to start off with the best spell in the entire game, and still one of the craziest cards in the entire game, Call by the Grave. You got to play one. It stops Ash. It stops hand traps. It's just good. This card is just really nice.
I agree.
I then play 2 copies of Infestation Pandemic. This card is really good because you can search it off Ophion, and all Evilswarm monsters you currently control are unaffected by spells or traps this turn. So you can stop a lot of cards from basically getting to your copies of Ophion with this card, especially one of the other techs I'm playing in the deck. So we then play 3 copies of Moon Mirror Shield. Now this was almost almost Dark Honest, because I wanted to have a little bit of a tech card, because when I was playtesting this deck, I noticed the big way that my opponent was outing my Ophion was being attacked over. So I wanted a way that I could give my Ophion a little bit of a boost to protect it from battle, so I ended up throwing in Moon Mirror Shield instead of throwing in like Dark Honest or anything like that.
Definitely a better choice in my opinion.
The reason I ended up putting this in here over the copy of Dark Honest was because I figured with this card, you are going to get constant protection. If you throw on Dark Honest, you're going to get through like what, one battle maybe. Yes, it's another level 4, but you're still going to run the risk of your opponent having 2 monsters that can get over your copy of Ophion, which is really easy in today's meta.
Yeah.
But with Moon Mirror Shield, your opponent's going to have a really tough time, especially if, like, sometimes you will open up with this deck like 1 level 4 and a bunch of floodgate traps or a bunch of traps and stuff like that, or some hand traps. If you open up this along with any level 4, you're going to be able to kind of stall out the opponent, which is nice because they're not going to be able to get through that monster super easy, especially with not a lot of players running back row like Destruction.
And as everybody knows from my stun deck, that is one of my favorite cards.
Yeah, and I figured it would be really fitting because it's one of your favorite cards.
Yeah.
One of the other reasons I threw it in here. I'm then playing 3 copies of Unexpected Die. Unexpected Die special summons out our only vanilla, which is our copy of Heliotrope. This is basically just 3 special summons. You can bait Ash Blossom with this. If you already have a normal summon in hand, like a copy of Caster and any Evilswarm, you always start with this, because if you start with this, you can bait out Ash. That's the big thing.
Not to mention, it is you have to have no monsters to be able to activate it.
Yeah, so you start with it. That's really important. It basically turns your vanilla Heliotrope into a Cyber Dragon from the deck, which is really nice, especially if you only open up like this and any other Evilswarm monster. You can just instantly get this on the field, which is nice. You can get a level 4 on the field. For the last 3 spells, I'm playing 3 Prosperity. Now, I will say, you don't have to play Prosperity. I just like it because it helps me dig into the deck. You can play Allure of Darkness. You can definitely play Allure of Darkness if you want another budget option where you don't want to play the Prosperity. I just really like this card because I basically play a toolbox of rank 4s with this deck. So this card just helps with consistency so that we can dig into the deck. So that's it for the spells. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Infestation Infection. This card is pretty good. It is searchable off of Ophion, which is why I just play a single copy of this card, but it's an alright card. Once per turn, you can shuffle one of your Evilswarm monsters from your hand or face up from your field back into the deck, and if you do, you get to add a different Evilswarm monster from your deck to your hand. So it can help you get to your copy of Caster or Kirkion later in the game, which is why I play this as a 1-up in here. I do not ever feel like you need more than one of this card, because it can be a brick. It can be really a brick if you open up like this and a bunch of traps. You're going to have a bad time, which is why I just play 1. I then play 3 copies of Imperm, which will bring the hand trap lineup to 9 in this deck with the 3 copies of D-Shifter, this, and Ash, which I think is totally fine in this deck. I don't feel like you need more. You can't play Magnamut in this deck. You can't play Druis Worm in here because they're level 6, and Ophion says no. You just can't.
Yeah.
So this card is just good to be able to stop your opponent's traps, or your opponent's monster effects, excuse me. And their spells and traps if you set this card first. We then play 3 copies of Eradicator. Eradicator is hands down my favorite tech card to play in any deck that plays Dark, because I'm main decking this because Ophion is 2550. Ophion is 2550. So you can tribute the copy of Ophion in this deck to be able to summon out the copy of, or use the copy of Eradicator to be able to call spells or traps to lock down the opponent, which is why I'm playing this card as a 3-of in the build. I really, really like this card in the deck, because if you flip this against a spell-heavy deck like Runic and you call spell, you can rip upwards of like 4 cards in their hand. Like,
for sure.
Like, let them Search Fountain. Okay, Search Fountain, chain this. Activate Fountain, chain this. Destroy all their spells and traps, or spells or traps. You have to call either or. The only downside of this is you do have to tribute a monster with 2,500 or more attack. That's the only downside of this card, but we have Ophion, so that's fine. The last 3 main deck cards is I'm playing 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. There Can Be Only One is really nice because with this deck, we have all sorts of different types, with like Ophion being a dragon, and then the rest of the main deck monsters. You have Kirkion, which is a spellcaster. You have Caster, which is a warrior. You have Mandragora, which is a plant. This is a rock, and then this is a thunder. So like all of them are different types. So when you throw this against like Tearlament, they get one monster unless they're like they might get Rhino Heart and maybe like a Merly or something like that, but they're gonna have a really tough time. Like especially decks that play like really like one type of decks, like Sprite. You flip this against them, bad time.
Exactly.
So that's
Plus, also in the words of Rogals, play Floodgates.
Oh yeah, you have to with this deck. You have to play Floodgates with this deck. I almost played 3 copies of Skill Drain in here because if you out this, I just flip Skill Drain.
Fair enough.
But you can side it. Another card that I did consider playing in here was Evenly Matched. I consider playing it over this because if your opponent forces you to go first, you have a going first card. If your opponent forces you to go, if you go second, you just set it and you just wait it out. So that's it for the main. Let's get into the extra. So for the extra is super simple. We play 3 Ophion. Ophion is the boss of the deck. This card is the best card in the entire deck. Takes any 2 Evilswarm monsters to make this card, and then while this card has material, level 5 or higher monsters cannot be special summoned. No Winda, no Kit Kalos, no Kaleido Heart, none of that. None of it. Sprite has a really good matchup against this deck because they're all level 2. But we play Moon Mirror Shield, so they have a really tough time getting over a card outside of Smasher. So this is just ridiculously good. You make this going first, and your opponent is going to have a really tough time outing it because you're going to detach a material from this, and then you're going to search out your copy of Infestation, the spell card. And once you search that out, you're going to be able to protect yourself from spells and traps. You also have Moon Mirror Shield if you think your opponent's going to be able to destroy monsters by battle. You have Moon Mirror that you can equip onto this. So it doesn't matter about the 2550.
Yeah.
We then play a single copy of Bahamut. This card is basically like Change of Heart. Once per turn, you can detach any material from this card, target to face a monster your opponent controls, and discard any Evilswarm monster from your hand. If you do, you get to take control of that monster. It doesn't say how long. So
that's just you take it.
Yeah, you just take it.
Nice.
1 copy of X Sun Knight because Feel Go Boom.
Feel Go Boom.
Feel Go Boom. This card's really good. I like this card a lot in the deck because it is an Evilswarm monster. We're actually playing it in its archetype deck, which is cool. It's just a really good card. It's a miniature Zeus, essentially. We play 1 copy of Nightmare. Nightmare is Book of Moon. So you play it as a 1 of. We play Master Key Beetle. Master Key Beetle is just something that I threw in here. It's prosperity food. But the cool thing is this, okay? There used to be, hear me out here. Okay, so back a long time ago when I used to play this deck a lot, and I still play the deck, I just play Black Wings a lot more. But
yeah,
you can throw both of these on the field, and if you can put 4 monsters on the field, you can use the Master Key Beetle to protect your copy of Ophion, which is the cool thing, yeah. And then if your opponent is going to out either one of them, you can just use Eradicator to tribute, which is why I'm playing it. Again, prosperity food, so it doesn't super matter because you can just banish it. You're basically just focusing on the Ophion, but this card's just all right in the deck. Okay. We then play a single copy of Reader because it's one of the best rank 4s in the entire game. You kind of got to look at this card a little bit with your copy of Eradicator because it is 2400, not 25, so you can't tribute this for Eradicator.
I got you.
1 copy of Abyss Dweller, locks down graveyards, just in case.
Really good at this format against Shizu tier.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
1 copy of Tornado Dragon because popping spells and traps is good. 1 copy of Number 60. Number 60 is good because it can double the attack of a monster, let you draw 2, discard 1, or be a monster reborn.
Yeah.
1 copy of Aguska because it's locked down, you know. Raiders Night because you can make this. This is your OTK piece.
Of course.
You play Dark. I play Dark. Everything's Dark. So I make Raiders Night first, and then I make this. And then as soon as I make this, I just go in. Because this card, if you guys don't know what this does, you detach a material, it gains the attack of every single monster on the field's attack points. It negates everything on the field's effects, that's face up. And then you swing for big number. That's basically what it does. It's huge. This card gets absolutely huge. I mean, if you put this in Ophion on a field, it's already at like 55, 50.
Oh, wow.
And that's not even looking at your opponent's monsters. The only downside of this is this is the only monster that can attack when you activate that effect. So it's kind of like if anybody's watching has ever played Black Wings, it's kind of like Sirocco the Dawn, where it gains the attack of all the monsters and then it swings. Final card, it is an XZ deck, Zeus. Because board wipe.
Fair enough.
Field go boom.
Yeah.
You only play XZs in this deck. You only need XZs in this deck. You can play Lynx if you want to. Quick note, I think that the Steelsworn Origin is not good. I don't like it. I don't think that it's a very good card. I've been playing the deck since Evilswarm was released. I tried it at 3, I tried it at 1, I tried it at 2. I cannot get it to work in this deck. It's slow. You only put 2 level 4s on the field, usually. So I feel like I could play a rank 4 like a Redoer or something like that instead, which is why I didn't play it. But that's pretty much it for the deck. I really like this deck. It's a deck that I've been playing, like I said, since release. It was one of the first decks that I built competitively when I started the channel, and I played it at locals a lot. I took a couple of victories when it first came out, and I've been playing this deck ever since release. It's super good. I really wish we'd get some support for this deck, especially since it's a dual terminal deck, and I love dual terminal. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So that's pretty much all I've got for this deck, guys.
All right, so that being said, do you have any shout-outs you'd like to say?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely check out my channel, DarkArmedDuelist, and shout-outs to Buds for always being so hospitable to us and letting us record here. I really appreciate it. You guys should definitely check out Buds' place. Thank you so much for letting us record here and let us hang out here. So that's it for me.
Also, just before we finish up the video, I do want to say that the links down to DarkArmedDuelist's channel will be in the description below. But with that being said, be sure to leave a like, comment down below what you guys think of the deck profile, and tell me what you guys would like to see in the future. Also, be sure to check out the description for the link to my Twitter, where I do try to keep you guys updated as much as possible. But with that being said, see ya.
See you later, guys.